And honestly, I heard Arrow got some flack from people too. And I could see why, but I actually enjoyed Arrow a lot more than Flash this season, which is a complete reversal from last season. Both seasons were great last season, with the exception of Arrow's final episode, but it did a 180. You know, The Flash is now the weakest link, and Arrow, it was decent, but it's just not as strong as the other 3 seasons in my opinion. Both the villain in this show, it didn't really work for me. Damien Darhk didn't come off as cool and menacing as I think the show was intending him to. I kind of really didn't like him at first, and over the course of the season, I started to gravitate a bit more towards him. But honestly, I never really reached that level of like, wow, he's a really cool and good villain. You know, it just, I don't know, something about him. Don't get me wrong, he has his moments, but it just altogether wasn't the best villain. He doesn't hold a candle to Deathstroke, not even close to Ra's al Ghul. And then Malcolm Merlyn in the first season was leagues above this guy. Not to say anything about the actor's talent, you know, he was a great actor, but I'm just saying, as far as the writing on that character goes and the way he came off to the audience, I just didn't feel like he was as cool as the previous 3 villains. This episode has some filler episodes as well. It's nowhere as terrible as what The Flash was doing. A lot of the episodes do, for the most part, connect to Damien Darhk. Damien Darhk always seems to have his hand in everything, so you never feel like you're 100% just away from him. And plus, Team Arrow has a lot of fighters on their side, so if anything, Oliver could be handling something Damien Darhk related, and then everybody else can be doing solo things as well. You know, you could have Theo over here doing her thing with her boyfriend, and then you could have Diggle over here handling stuff with his brother, Laurel over here doing stuff with God knows who. You know, the team can split up and have different arcs throughout the entire show, which is a plus. You get to do a lot more things and not seem like you're moving too far away. One thing that did move too far away though, and just seemed unnecessary at this point, the flashbacks. What are we still doing those for? At this point, honestly, I feel like it's a bit ridiculous. I mean, over the course of the entire show, I feel like I like the fact that he had spent 5 years with nothing but his wits and his will to survive for 5 years on the island by himself. You know, I like the whole thing where, you know, you started off with Deathstroke, you know, he could have escaped with Sarah and them, and then I guess that's when Sarah met the League of Assassins and stuff like that. It would have seemed cooler from there. He had to just survive on the island. And I mean, I'll say this, I liked Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a fine season, you know, but I liked the fact that they were gonna drop him back on the island, and I thought that's where he was gonna have to stay up until, you know, the time when they find him. But no, that's not what happens. He's going off the island again for next season, probably to go to Russia to fulfill the promise of the dead woman from this season, and then he's gonna have to do that, and we know he's probably gonna spend most of the season in Russia doing his thing, and then they'll probably put him on the island after that. It just seems like it's getting way too convoluted. It was fine that it was like he was scarred by his 5 years on an island alone by himself with no one else. You know, like, you kind of go crazy because of that. It's sort of like Castaway. You start to lose your sanity. And it makes sense when he comes back that he's this murdering, psychopath kind of killer sort of dude. But now he's been off the island so many times, and, you know, he's here and then he's there and then he's over here and he's over there. It's like he spent no time, so he wouldn't be this crazed kind of psycho killer. And maybe they're trying to just make him more relatable and, you know, less of like this crazy guy. But to me, I like that. You know, he had to morph from season 1 where he just killed everybody and shot everybody with arrows, into the more kinder version of himself in season 2. Things that he says don't even really make sense, you know? He's still on that please don't kill people, you know, they're human, you know, all life is precious, blah 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 bull. But when he gets to the Star City in a few years, he's gonna be on his murder's rampage? And they just gave him the same haircut in the flashbacks that he has in the modern day parts. So to me, it's just, the flashbacks are unnecessary at this point. You could have left him on the island past this season and then had him survive up until now. Honestly, you should have done that from Deathstroke, but because you wanted to go to Hong Kong, all right, fine, you went to Hong Kong. That was a fine season, makes sense. You know, Amanda Waller knows him now. He comes back. You know, they had that whole connection with the League of Assassins. Or the League of Assassins. But at this point, it's just, you're stretching it way too thin. Honestly, you just need to end the flashbacks now. It's a gimmick that's no longer needed. You have so much stuff going on in the modern day world part that you don't need these flashbacks anymore. You should have topped them off with one last, nice little montage of how he spent a few months on there later on, and he's just hunting, and the beard's growing out, and the hair's getting longer, and then one day he just sees the ship, and then they cut to that very first scene from the very first episode in the very first season, and then it would have come all the way full circle. You don't need to show us constant flashbacks and try to relate every season to the flashbacks that are going on right now. They had John Constantine on the island now. They have the magic rock that Damien Dark is using on the island right now. But let me not ramble again. Again, there were really cool things in this season. Of course the action was on point. The story actually isn't half bad. I do like the struggle between him and Damien Dark. I just don't feel like it was up to par as well as, the previous seasons. But, it wasn't terrible again. Some of the twists and turns, again, I kind of saw them coming. We all kind of called that Laurel was going to be the one who kicked the bucket. I mean, they kind of do it a few episodes before we know somebody's supposed to die. Besides the leaks that we kind of just called off the bat, you could see in the previous episodes before the death is supposed to happen that Laurel gets a bigger spotlight than she's gotten throughout the entire season. So you're kind of just like, she's gonna kick the bucket. They're gonna take her out. Come on. But again, this was not a terrible season. Just not, to me, as good as the previous one. So yeah, it was okay. It was just my second favorite show on the CW this season. The first favorite show, Legends of Tomorrow. Oh my god, this one, that was a gem. I absolutely loved the entire season of this show. I got the feeling of maybe some melodramatic moments like from the previous two shows creeping into here, but they don't stay for the entire time. They had the added benefit of only having to go from the mid-season premiere point on to the finale point. So they don't have all those extra episodes that they probably have to add a bunch of filler for. So every episode seems like they're doing something that's relevant. And if they're not doing something that's completely relevant to the main storyline of stopping Vandal Savage, it's still a lot of fun to watch. Like, they do a lot of time travel stuff in here, so there's like episodes that are just purely set in the 50s, in the 70s, in the 60s. It was like a lot of fun to watch. And the characters are great. All of them. Captain Cold and Heatwave were my absolute favorites. It was like taking these two villains that were kind of cool in The Flash and making them like the coolest things ever in this show. I absolutely love their arcs. Sarah's in this show. Even characters that I wasn't really too fond of, like Hawkgirl and Adam, characters that I was just kind of not too fond of. They were there and they were okay, but this show, it made me absolutely love them. I thought Adam was okay and he was kind of cool. He kind of had his moments of just kind of being annoying, but this show, I loved seeing every moment of him. The characters, the writing, the special effects, everything is awesome about this show. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, this very sci-fi heavy TV show that requires a lot of visual effects and stuff for like the Wave Rider and going through time effect and then the big spaceships and stuff like that. Those things, like, I would feel like would require more budget. And yet they do it a lot better than their counterparts, Flash has a lot of CGI in it as well, but it just doesn't seem like it's as well done because it was a very great season and I had a lot of fun. The villain, Vandal Savage, I didn't think at first that he was going to be as awesome and interesting as he ended up being. At first, I knew him from the comic books and I was like, he doesn't quite seem as big and menacing and tough as the guy from the comic books. I don't know how this is gonna play out, but the way that they handled the character and stuff like that, him going through time and just being so cool and awesome and his cool demeanor, the actor really did a great job. And when they defeat him, it's like a great feeling of like, yes, we finally have gotten him. Thank you, God. It's something that neither Flash nor Arrow had this season. Unfortunately, we felt it in Arrow and Flash before, when Reverse Flash gets killed and then, when Ra's al Ghul gets killed, but we didn't feel it in any of the other shows this season, and Legends of Tomorrow did it perfectly. So next season, they're gonna get a full length, from fall to spring or summer season. So I'm hoping that they're not gonna drag it down with a bunch of, filler episodes, and that they keep on going strong, making every scene, every episode relevant to the main storyline and keeping us engaged in it. And if they're not really relevant, like just keeping us like interested in, making it a funny, cool episode or something like that. Either way, to me, Legends of Tomorrow was undoubtedly the best show on the CW by far. And I'm talking about the Arrowverse. I don't know about Supernatural and all that other stuff. At the end of the day, with the exception of Legends of Tomorrow, Flash and Arrow, they need to step their game up, you know? It's not even that this season wasn't as good as the previous seasons, it's just that there's so many gripes and little things that I just feel like would have been better if they weren't in there, or if they were fixed next season, would make it 10 times better. You know what I mean? If we had a much more menacing villain of Arrow, if some of the plot lines just weren't dragged out for so long in The Flash, I just feel like the next season would be a lot better if they did those things. But overall, I can't say that I hated the show. I had a lot of fun with it, and I can't wait to see next season. I just hope that they make some improvements for the next one. But yeah, that's my review for the CW Arrowverse. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of the CW Arrowverse this season? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What was your favorite show? Did you have the same gripes as me? Was there anything I missed? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, you guys can follow me on Vine, Twitter, MoviePilot, and Twitch. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. I'm the Messiah. This is Messiah Entertainment. Peace.